What did I do wrong? My parents separated in 2000 when I was 2 years old, and for the next 9 years I struggled through the heart-wrenching family court battle my parents were geared to defeat each other in, whilst I was ripped apart between them. The contact order allocated me 4 days a month to see my dad. This was no relationship. He knew nothing of my friends or school life, and I knew nothing of my absent family. He was my dad. What was so wrong with that? In 2008, he got sent to prison for campaigning with Fathers for Justice for loving me, his own daughter. His involvement with Fathers for Justice caused him to do extreme things, but you have got to understand that they are in extreme circumstances, and in the hell of the family courts, you are not heard unless you make it impossible to be ignored. Did they really think sending him to prison would make him give up fighting for me? This is clearly what they wanted. He was just a father desperate to see his daughter, not the criminal he was labelled as. But this is the sacrifice my dad had to make, and I'm so proud of him for doing this for me. If he hadn't, I doubt we'd be together now. I remember being told the news. I was at my mum's and I cried and cried. How could those sick, twisted people possibly have the reason to lock my dad away? All my life I'd been invisible through their paychecks and business cards, and now it'd come to this. My dad in prison. I spent the rest of my evening on our sofa crying in a very awkward situation, as I hardly even spoke with my dad, so it was a big thing to be crying in front of my mum over him. I have 2 older brothers, and we all have different dads. I never spoke to them about it because they were in my mum's side of my life, so my dad wasn't. They both came home from work to find me crying on the sofa. After finding out why, my older brother swore a couple of times, marched into the kitchen and slammed the door. My younger brother came home, gave me a hug, said nothing, and went to his room. Because of our childhood complications, I knew it was awkward, and I could understand that it was difficult for my brothers to comfort me in the situation, but it really opened my eyes to how divided my family was. I knew we all loved each other very much, but our relationships were complicated. Whilst in prison, my dad missed my 10th birthday, my piano exam, and our weekends together. This broke me that little bit more, stole another bit of hope that this could all just be over. I couldn't believe it was happening, still. How dare they deny me my father? How dare they not listen to me when they all say they work in the child's best interest? Months later, after my dad was out of prison and more court hearings were going on, another CAFCAS officer came down from London to look into my family. I stressed for ages over my room at my dad's. I was so worried how he would judge it, and I just wanted it to be perfect so he could find no reason to separate us anymore. I tidied a shelf of pencils, books and teddies, all neat, ordered and straight. I'd stare at it and then worry that he would think I was trying too hard and that it was all too neat, that I wasn't comfortable at our house. I knew their tricks, and as a child I should not have had the stress of this. I knew they all had ulterior motives behind their kind words and sympathetic smiles. Suddenly I'd panic and mess it up and try and make it look more natural. That stupid shelf niggled away at me for days. I was so nervous when he came. Just that mere hour or so would mean so much. He would decide what was to be done with my life, again, my life, in the hands of some alien person. We also had an interview at school where I made sure I made my feelings extremely clear. If he didn't listen, I'd run away. I couldn't take it anymore. At age 5, they ignored me. But now, age 10, I would show him that I was not a child to be manipulated into their controlling, unjust and damaging games. I had a dad, and I deserved to be with him. For the first time, I would force them to listen. However, it should not have taken this. I should not have needed to threaten to run away to get a voice. In the following months, days at court began to have positive outcomes. Things were finally changing, and slowly it finished. In the summer of 2009, I was granted shared care and shared residency with my dad. Equal. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it was all over. It was how it should have been from the very start. But 9 years. It took 9 years to win back my dad. They robbed 9 years of my life. After, my parents seemed to get on almost as if nothing had happened, which confirmed how much of a set-up the whole thing had been. The lies and other excuses had only been as a kind of ammunition to defeat my dad, make him look bad, not fit to be my parent. It was what my mum's solicitors told her to do. My parents were encouraged to make cases against each other. The courts made the fight. What a waste of time. What unnecessary pain. At home, my dad has about 3 suitcases of paperwork. Was that in the interest of me, or were people just making money out of me? 9 years of precious time I will never get back with my dad. Government has lost its humanity. Everything is about money and power, and they'll abuse our human rights until they have this. Abusers like Kafkas, who say they work in the child's best interests, yet have no evidence to support this claim. Ofsted reports have repeatedly found the service to be inadequate. An agency such as the CSA is meant to financially support children, but had no concern for me when they took my dad's driving licence away. This is even people such as the police, who left me hurt and ignored like everyone else. Their aims are united. Government services are breaking families in order to destroy society, to gain control and build the economy. Family breakdown costs the taxpayer £44 billion every year. Dividing families results in 2 cars, 2 houses, 2 sets of bills. The government does this because happy families make no money for them. Imagine the mass money made from the gruelling process of the family courts, the counsellors, social workers, barristers, solicitors, all fueling the cycle to weaken the people, creating higher demand for such professions. And did you know that 1 in 3 children is without their father? Laws have been continually made to remove fathers legally, emotionally, and biologically. We're left with a generation of fatherless families. After separation, 93% of the time, children are made to live with their mother by reason of gender. Domestic abuse is a major weapon used. In my case, my dad buying the bigger packet of cornflakes rather than the smaller, more expensive one my mum wanted was used against him as abuse. Petty, insignificant things like this separate good, loving fathers from their families every day. If a mother turns up to court crying, she has been emotionally abused. Alternatively, if a father brings proof of depression in counselling reports and doctor's notes, his plea is twisted as a weakness and is deemed unable to cope. I cannot emphasise enough how biased our so-called justice system is. Yeah. Family courts are corrupt. They're filling our societies with a generation damaged and hurt, unveiling crime and chaos onto our streets. Prisons are swelling with young offenders, 70% of which come from lone parent families. Fathers develop children's confidence, self-esteem and self-control. Without this, how do you expect them to behave? Fatherless boys are twice as likely to be excluded from school, and girls 2.5 times more likely to become pregnant as teenagers. And government pushes 200 children a day through court battles where they are torn between their parents, just like I was. I would cry myself to sleep, sometimes even unaware of why I was feeling so broken. There is so much I can't remember as a child which I blocked out, but the feelings and the emotions stay. I was told that I was important, yet nobody listened to me. I was told that my feelings mattered, yet my screaming voice was silent. I loved my dad and wanted to be with him, yet I was treated as though I did not deserve a father. Their lies have gutted me. I've written letters asking those responsible why they broke my family, Kafkas, CSA, and to Judge David Tyzak, but nobody cares. I've even been threatened with harassment by my own police service for writing to the judge, and even after all the trouble he caused my family. Even the NSPCC is protecting the corrupt government that is abusing so many children. So this is why I started Children's for Justice, and is why I'm not giving up. I want to end the abuse on children in the family courts. I've decided to use my experience, fight back, and give children the voice I never had. Thank you.